Hey people of VC, it's Cloudy back with another episode of From the Vault. This is the series, as you should well know by now, where I show my pre-VC record collection. And to make it a bit more interesting, I gave every record a number between 1 and 150. Then I asked you guys to pick a number and I'll show the record associated with that number. So it's a little bit like a take on the random records that some people do. So I got 5 people left me a number after the last video. So thanks very much, guys, for that. I'll dive straight in. First person was Chris Howard. So Chris doesn't make videos, but he's a regular commentator on my videos and also on my Cloudy Mulder Facebook page as well. So he chose number 14, and number 14 is Vardis, The World's Insane, from 1981. Vardis classed as a new wave of British heavy metal band, but this album isn't really heavy metal. It's kind of more. It's got more of a rock and roll type feel to it. Difficult to pigeonhole, but certainly when I think of new wave of British heavy metal, I don't really think of this sound, but it is still a really good album. So this is their second album, although it's their first studio album, as their debut album was a live album called 100 Miles Per Hour. And they're a 3-piece from Wakefield in Yorkshire. It's a good album, as I say. It's excuse me, dry throat. 10 tracks on it. Steve Zodiac is the main man on here, lead guitar and vocals. Now, this a little bit of a cheat in that this isn't the copy of The World's Insane that I had before I started making VC videos. This was actually an upgrade I got not too long ago. That original copy I had, I sent across the pond as a VCLT a little while back. It also cost me a little bit more than £1.99. That looks like an old HMV sticker. I do need to try and get that off, but I'm a little reluctant to do so, even with the appropriate chemicals, because it's such a big sticker. Just scares me a little bit. But anyway, yeah. So Vardis, 100 Miles an Hour. It's got quite a good cover of Hawkwind's Silver Machine, and it's an interesting way to end the album. So Steaming Along, the last track on here, kind of ends with like the sound of a steam train pulling away, and then rather than go into the silent run out, it just keeps going with a sort of like a bit of a haunting steam train sound as the record ends, and it carries on forever. So it doesn't actually run into the dead wax at the end of the record, which is quite interesting. So there we are, Vardis. It's on the logo label. And my copy, actually, when I originally bought it, I think I got it off eBay. Inside it was a second record. Now, looking at Discogs and doing a little bit of research, it didn't come with, I don't think there was any version that came with a bonus EP, but this is the Vardis promo VAR EP. And it's got 4 tracks from the album: Police Patrol, All You Ever Need, Power Underfoot, and Money Grabber. So someone's obviously picked this up at some point and decided to keep it in the sleeve with the album. So I've just done the same, because that's how I ended up buying it. So nice little thing to have. I think the original, looking at Discogs, the original came in a plain white cover with Vardis promo EP kind of stamped on it, but generic sleeve, but nice little thing to have along with it. So thank you, Chris, for playing along and picking a number. To get involved in this yourself, when you finish watching the video, or even right now if you can't wait, go to the comments below and leave a number between 1 and 150. How do you know that you're picking a number that someone hasn't done before? In the description of this video is a link and it's a link to a blogger site that I've got, and I've got this big grid, and basically any box you see that doesn't have a picture of an album, choose a number of an empty box, stick it in the comments below, and I will tell you which record that corresponds to in the next video, and give you a lovely little shout out as well to go with it. Next up, number 33. This was chosen by another guy that doesn't do videos but is a regular contributor to the comments in my channel, and that's Morepark28. He also picked a number that was in the last video, so this isn't a one and done. You're welcome to put numbers down for every video you watch, because it keeps the series going. And number 33 is an album I really enjoy. Yngwie J. Malmsteen is somebody who, excuse me, sorry about that, coughing fit. I haven't got a cold, I just, anyway, Yngwie J. Malmsteen, you either love him or hate him. There aren't many people that take it away. I've always loved this cover, a three-headed dragon and Prince Malmsteen with his axe of fury. I'm making this shit up. So Trilogy is the first Yngwie Malmsteen album that I ever had. I had this on a dubbed cassette back in the day. My favourite track on here by far is Fury. Absolutely love that. I'm not a big fan of guitar wankery instrumentals and at all, but Trilogy Suite Opus 5, the last track on the album, I really enjoy that one as well. And the thing I like about Malmsteen is he does have a band. The lyrics aren't necessarily particularly deep or intelligent or good for that matter, but there are lyrics in the songs and it makes them a whole lot more enjoyable and interesting for me. Now, note that this is Yngwie J. Malmsteen and not Yngwie J. Malmsteen's Rising Force. Now, you may not care too much about that. I don't really for that much, but I did notice on Discogs there's a bit of a forum thread debate going on as to whether Yngwie J. Malmsteen and Yngwie J. Malmsteen's Rising Force should be in the same listing page, and there are some people that are taking the matter incredibly seriously. There's a link on Yngwie J. Malmsteen's profile to the thread with people discussing the pros and cons of separation. One post likens it to, you wouldn't put Paul McCartney's solo releases on the Beatle page, so Yngwie J. Malmsteen should not be on Yngwie J. Malmsteen's Rising Forces page. You with me? Mind boggles, but you know, as collectors we do get pretty anal about this stuff, I guess. I don't care where he goes, I really enjoy this album. It's on Polydor, it's what, 1986, and an interesting label. So thank you, Morepark28. Next up, number 54 was chosen by a fairly new guy to the VC who does make videos this time around, and that's Jolly Roger from Texas. I have to say, I do love his accent. I used to work quite closely with a lot of people in Texas, mainly around the Austin area, and I've got family living out in Houston, and been out to Texas quite a few times. So, but anyway, check out Jolly Roger's channel. I looked at his channel earlier today, and he was 6 short of 100 subs. So if you're not subscribed to him, he's a really nice guy. Go and sub to him now. He shows quite a wide variety of music. To be honest, I've never heard of a lot of the stuff that he shows. There's some really sort of old, what I call old-fashioned stuff as well. Even the stuff I listen to is 30 or 40 years old. But in his response to Farley's contest video recently, he gave a really interesting backstory to why he likes music and what music he got into, and he likes a little bit of hard rock and metal in that mix as well. So check out his channel. Let's get him to 100 subs. And so this one, now this one, I think you are either gonna love it or hate it. And when it came out, I absolutely loved it. And I don't know if that'll surprise you or not, but this is David Lee Roth, his Crazy from the Heat EP. So the first thing he released after Van Halen, and clearly he wanted to show a different side to him than what people imagined he would be like because of Van Halen. I was massively into Eat 'Em and Smile, and when I first heard that, and then I came across this in the record store, I picked it up. It didn't even occur to me that it was all cover versions, so Easy Street, Just a Gigolo, California Girls, and Coconut Grove. I probably had never even heard of these songs before. Well, maybe California Girls, and the cover doesn't look metal, so I was still surprised when I heard it, and even more surprised that I absolutely loved it. I just found it really, really infectious, and I played it over and over again. And I have not played this in forever. One thing I like about this series is it's forcing me to go back in and pick out records that I have not played in sometimes 30 years. In the last video, it was Aerosmith's Permanent Vacation, and this one, it's David Lee Roth's Crazy from the Heat. I put this on earlier today, and I was straight back to being 16 years old when I first heard this, and I could picture my room now and singing along to this. Oh yeah, happy memories. But it's something that I will never part with, and it's probably something I'm not really going to play again. Side 1, Easy Street and Just a Gigolo. I just love that. I could play that. That's enough for me off here. California Girls and Coconut Grove are a bit, then they don't interest me so much. But if you haven't seen the video for Just a Gigolo, have a look at that on YouTube. It's completely outrageous. It's very David Lee Roth. He's a real love him or hate him guy. But it just surprised me how, having not heard this or even thought about this particularly for probably since the 80s, that when Just a Gigolo was coming on, and the whole was it homily bibbly zibbly bibbly homily bibbly zibbly bop bit that he did, I was there. It was bang straight in the forefront of my mind. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. So Roger, I'm glad you picked number 54 because it gave me a chance to revisit this old friend, and yeah, put a smile on my face. It's an EP, but it still came with an inner. It says David Lee Roth down here in case you didn't know, and it's just a list of the songs and the band that he had with it. I think Edgar Winter is probably the he particularly thanks Edgar Winter here, so maybe had a big part in him getting this done. So yes, number 54, check out Jolly Roger. Number 92 next, and that was selected by Dude1973, who also contributed to the last video. So thank you guys who are contributing each time, because you're keeping this series going. And you chose 92, and that's another absolute classic, and that's Wasp, The Headless Children from 1989, although this is the picture disc version. So I picked this up probably in the first year of starting to collect and buy records again, and I remember buying it because I wanted it, but not really thinking about the fact that it was on a picture disc. And whereas I guess I don't really have much against picture discs, not in terms of the disc itself. I'm just not a fan of picture disc because I think the packaging is always poor. If a picture disc came in a proper cardboard sleeve with lyric sheet and everything, then I would be more than happy. But for instance, this one comes with the lyrics on the back, so you can't possibly read along while it's spinning. So yeah, it's I did go out actually and buy. I came across the black vinyl version, and I bought that because I was just happier having a version that that had the lyric sheet separately. The back is pretty much the same as the standard black vinyl version, but it's a nice conversation piece. I'm having a conversation about it now. Tracks on here, well, this album is almost a 10, maybe a 9.7 or 8 or 9, maybe 9.9 and a half. Absolutely love it. It wasn't one that I was familiar so much with in the 80s, because it was 89 and I was starting to go down other roads then. But songs like The Real Me, which is great. The Headless Children. Now, Mean Man was a song that Wasp wrote about Chris Holmes when he was still in the band. And as a little bit of a bonus, this is one I've picked up more recently, but I've got the Mean Man 12-inch single. Don't think that bike's going to go very far. But yeah, I mean, every track on here is great. Mean Man, Forever Free, Man Eater, Rebel in the FDG. It's a killer Wasp album. Probably a little bit more serious than their first 3 albums, and took on a slightly different direction. But the music is just phenomenal. So very, very good. So thank you, Chris, dude, 1973. You picked a good one. And last but not least, another guy that picked a number in the last video, and that's L. His channel title's just EL. He chose number 148. And this is another album that I owned in the 80s, but I only had it on a dubbed cassette copy. And it was my introduction to the band. And that is Halloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 2. And I sometimes go between Part 1 and Part 2 as to which is my favourite, but having just heard this yesterday again for the first time in a little while, this is back as my favourite of the 2. Although the band's intention was that this wasn't going to be an album in its own right. They wanted to do a double album for Keeper of the Seven Keys, but the record company put their foot down and insisted they do it as 2 albums. Rise and Fall is probably my favourite Halloween track of all time, but songs like I Want Out, Eagle Fly Free, Keeper of the Seven Keys is a monster. I can't remember how long that is. I think it must be over 12 minutes. We've got times in here, yeah. 13 minutes 38 inside with the lyrics and lots of pumpkin pictures and pictures of the band. Obviously Michael Kiske and Kai Hansen, the brains behind a lot of the songs and the action, but it's just an absolute killer album, and I can't praise it highly enough if you've not heard it. There's the inner sleeve, beautiful condition. This is quite a hard card inner sleeve as well, so I don't keep the record in here, but it's got the tour dates, and right down here we've got the single from this was Dr. Stein, and that's something I picked up fairly recently, which was a good pickup. I'll just show that in a minute. Again, as a little bit of a bonus, but there's the label. I'm guessing that's maybe a 3D image, although I've never really bothered to find out about that. And the B-side with the track listings. And just as a little bit of a bonus, these aren't part of my original collection, they're just stuff I picked up, but I don't tend to show a lot of 12-inch singles. But I did find recently a copy of Halloween, Dr. Stein, some great artwork on here. So the band are all mummified and in the morgue. And it has Savage and Living Ain't No Crime on the B-side. And that has a very similar sort of hard card inner sleeve, exactly the same printing on that side, but lyrics for the 3 songs and thank yous on there, and a lovely bit of artwork for the custom labels. Right, so there we have it. That's another episode of From the Vault. If you want to see another one of these next month, then please play along. I absolutely don't mind if you've done this before, if you've done it, you guys that I've just shown, if you want to do it again. If you've never done it before, if you've done it months ago, go and check out the blog post. Pick a number that hasn't been picked before, and I'll show you the record that corresponds with it. Hopefully that's not too complicated. You guys can work it out, can't you? Yeah, just check out the link. Go on. Right, okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.